Former Governor of New Mexico, Bill Richardson, joins ATV's special broadcast tonight. Richardson completed his second term as governor of New Mexico in January 2011. Prior to his election, Richardson served in the Clinton administration as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and Secretary of the U.S. Department of Energy. He has also served as a U.S. Congressman and as chairman of the 2004 Democratic National Convention. In 2008, he sought the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. Since leaving his role as governor, Richardson was named chairman of APCO Worldwide's Executive Advisory Service, Global Political Strategies, and special envoy for the Organization of American States. We welcome him to the show to discuss both his career and opinions on some of the issues that are being addressed in the current presidential campaign. Governor Richardson, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on our program.
It's great to be with you.
Let me start by asking you, you've been supporting Obama throughout his campaign. What do you think Obama has done well during the course of his presidency?
In foreign policy, he's gotten us out of Iraq, getting us out of Afghanistan, restored our prestige and alliances abroad. Domestically, he saved the auto industry. He passed a landmark health care bill. He's improved educational opportunities for all Americans. And I think he's making an honest effort to strengthen the economy through the middle class out, but it's still going to be a major effort. I think he deserves a second term because he's been a president that has acted and in many cases succeeded.
Even if President Obama is reelected, do you think you'll have much success working in with Republicans going forward?
I do think there will be more bipartisanship. I think the message of this election in the House, in the Senate, and the presidency is going to be from Americans to our leaders. Be bipartisan, get things done, work closer together. We can't take these huge fights on the deficit, on foreign policy, on the budget. I think that message is going to come through. It'll be a lot better. It cannot get worse.
In regards to the economy, do you agree with what President Obama is doing to reform Wall Street? Or do you think possibly that they could be harmful to the economy? Because a lot of businesses that actually have money are afraid to either hire more people or invest because they're worried about new regulations.
I believe the Dodd-Frank initiatives are good. I think it was needed because there was no oversight of Wall Street. The implementation of that law now has to be carefully scrutinized. What we don't want to do is overregulate. But I do think in terms of private equity, pensions, personal investments, the stock market, I think those regulations were good.
As governor, you've taken a lot of steps to promote clean energy in New Mexico. Are there measures that you took in New Mexico that you'd like to apply across the country?
Yes, I would. In clean energy, I think the country needs to have what is called a renewable portfolio standard. In other words, mandate at least 25–30% use of renewable energy in our electricity sources, just mandate it. Secondly, give incentives to solar and wind, keep the wind extension tax credit going, make it permanent, not just end it at the end of this year. And then lastly, I think it's important that we continue research and development in new technologies for electric vehicles, for clean fuel standards, and make a real effort to ensure that natural gas development, which is very good, that we don't harm the environment through what is called fracking. So I think the president has taken some important steps in the area of energy. I think there's more domestic drilling, and that's good. And I do think that what we need is a comprehensive energy policy where we take a look at all our energy sources, renewable, natural gas, oil and gas, nuclear with safety and environmental standards, and a real commitment to climate change, which I think is necessary because the planet, in my judgment, needs that attention.
A similar question, but regarding immigration. Are there steps you took in New Mexico regarding immigration that you'd like to see implemented on a national level?
Well, I took steps in New Mexico like the DREAM Act, which gives opportunities to the kids of immigrants who serve in the military, who satisfy the same academic standards that everybody else to be eligible for scholarships. I also took a measure that is very controversial, but is working in my state. I don't know if it would work nationally. I don't think politically it would be acceptable, and that is giving licenses to undocumented workers, driver's licenses. I think that brings safety, that integrates them into the community, that makes them insured, that gives you an opportunity to know where they are. But I think that is much too controversial. So I would stick to the DREAM Act, which I think needs to be applied nationally.
Let me turn now to a question about the United Nations. You've served as U.S. Ambassador to the UN. Their organization is frequently criticized as being not effective in the world today. But what is your assessment of the work of the organization and its purpose today?
Well, I think it is effective. It's not perfect, but whenever there's a crisis, there's an immediate forum to resolve the crisis. It's called the UN Security Council, where 5 countries hold veto power: Russia, China, the United States, Britain, and France. Russia and China have been problems lately, but whenever there's a crisis in the Middle East, in Syria, in North Korea, the Security Council is able to act. In many cases, peacekeeping forces are sent to prevent conflicts. The UN is also important in dealing with women's issues, with issues relating to climate change, with economic and social problems, with AIDS, diseases. It's a forum mainly for the 190 countries that constitute the Third World. It's a useful organization, but it needs to find ways to be more managed properly. The Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, a South Korean, I believe, has done a good job. So I think it is a necessary entity in world affairs.
And do you agree with the U.S. being involved in Libya?
Yes, I do think so. I think the President was right when we intervened through NATO. We didn't put any troops there. We put through NATO assistance to prevent a humanitarian disaster, a dictatorship that had been decimating its people. Yeah, I do think it was a suitable and strong and positive intervention.
You've also tried to negotiate with North Korea on their nuclear program. Do you think anything will really change in North Korea following the death of Kim Jong-il, its leader, last year?
Well, I've been to North Korea many times. The place is an enigma. It's unpredictable. But my view is you engage, you dialogue, you talk to your enemies and find ways to seek common ground. The good signs of the son of Kim Jong-il are that he was educated in the West, that he seems to have more of an outward approach to governing, that he's including more people in his circle, that he's made noises about rejoining the six-party talks and reducing his nuclear arsenal. He admitted they made a mistake when they fired that missile and it fell apart. They never had done that before. So I see hopeful signs, but in my years dealing with North Korea, you never know what's going to happen next. But to neglect them, to isolate them, I think has been a mistake in the past, because they have nuclear weapons and they have 1.5 million men in arms and they have missiles. They're hostile. And I think it's important to bring them into the community of nations.
You've held a lot of leadership positions throughout your career. What do you think it takes to become a great leader?
I think it takes commitment, it takes hard work, it takes strong ethical values, and most importantly, inclusiveness. Don't just try to hog everything. Bring others in on your decisions.
You've also had a lot of experience negotiating, especially for hostages and prisoners, such as in Iraq and Sudan. What strategies do you use to negotiate well?
Well, you always want to give the other side an opportunity to save face. You have to treat the other side with respect. You have to know where you want to end up at the end of a negotiation. You want to learn as much as possible about the other side. And then you have to show to the other side why it's in their interest to release this prisoner of conscience or this political prisoner or this American serviceman. You need to find ways to connect personally. I think in negotiations, the ability to connect, and this is, I think, an asset here at American University, where you have such diversity of the student body and so many languages and an emphasis on diplomacy. I think this is a very good training ground to be a diplomat, to be a negotiator.
For your work as governor, what do you want people to remember you for?
Education, that I improved education in my state, but I also created a renewable energy industry. I created a movie industry, which is good, clean jobs for a lot of New Mexicans. I created what is called a spaceport, space tourism. And I believe I was a governor that cared for all the people in New Mexico. We're a poor state, and we brought some very good, clean jobs, and we're a clean state. I brought very strong standards of environmental protection, climate change, and unfortunately my successor is not following suit in that area. But nonetheless, I felt I was a good governor.
Is there any accomplishment in your career that you are particularly proud of?
Well, I've had a good career. I've had some mistakes. But on the whole, that I've worked hard and brought to my state and to the country and to the international community at the UN, I think a sense of honesty and strong ethics and making sure that American values are brought forth in a very positive way of democracy and human rights. That's, I think, a good legacy to leave.
It sounds like it, yes. Can you offer some advice to students who are interested in pursuing a career in public service?
Yeah, it's very simple. Run for office. Run at the lowest level. Don't wait. You know, you're going to get a lot of your colleagues and parents and those that are already in office, they're going to say, wait your turn. I think especially women. We need more women in public service. I think it's important that everybody participate, that be part of a campaign, but also run for office locally. County commissions, city councils, planning commissions are very important. And I believe that women need to take stronger steps for those leadership positions. Public service is a noble profession. Everybody gets down on it, but in the end, this is where you can make a difference. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent, you're participating in the process strengthens the country. If you stay out and don't vote and complain, you're not offering any solutions. You're part of the problem.
Yeah, and on that, I'd like to say thank you again for joining us. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Glad to be with you.